All right, our final question today on the Get Ready for the Future show comes to us from Adrian in Little Rock. I'm planning to start a business within the next few years, but I want to be sure I make smart financial decisions with it. What do you recommend for a first-time entrepreneur, and how can I still be sure I'm making progress with my retirement savings as well? Adrian, thanks for the question. Boy, there's a lot in that. What kind of business are we talking about in the next few years? How close are we there? But we can definitely talk generally about what to consider. Janet is a small business owner. There's certainly a lot to really, I think, take stock of on the front end, and it may not really be that much financial at the beginning.
Yeah. There really is a lot to consider. The first thing that comes to my mind is a financial aspect of it, and that is whether or not you can get into this business without any debt. As an example, when John and I started GenWealth back in 2005, there was not a need to acquire any debt. We didn't have to go and buy equipment and all that type of thing. And so we were just able to start the business and then acquire clients and go from there. So the business was able to pay for itself. There are people who are in businesses that have to have significant equipment. And in doing that, sometimes they don't have the ability before the business is started to be able to pay for that equipment. So think about that, and not just equipment, but also people. I don't know how much you're looking at in terms of your need for team members to work with you. There are a significant number across our nation of one-man businesses. Mm-hmm. And with that, you don't have the liability and responsibility of taking care of additional team members as far as making sure that the revenue is there for more people beyond you. So there's a lot to consider, but start thinking about what kind of capital expenditures are going to be needed and where you're getting that from. And I would encourage you to keep the debt at a zero level if possible, but as low of a level as is reasonable if it's required in your business venture.
Yeah, and I think it's a real big difference here is, are you starting a business on the side or are you going all in, right? Because you can start the business on the side and you can afford to maybe not take as much risk. I think about some of the things that we're doing personally in our home, and we're thinking about, when it comes to debt, right? You want to be able to potentially leverage the bank for more money to get that business started. But if the income doesn't follow, right?
Yeah.
If the income doesn't follow, are you comfortable servicing that debt on your own, from your own cash flow? And I think that's a good inflection point to think about if you're starting a business on the side.
That's very wise. You and I both have some ventures on the side that we're doing in addition to what we do here at GenWealth, and that same line of thinking is really just, it's critical that we look at that and go, okay, what if the business doesn't do what I want it to do or expect it to do? Then what impact does that have on my family financially? And that comes back to a conversation about risk. I think that most good entrepreneurs have to be comfortable with some degree of risk. If you are not comfortable with some degree of risk, then you're not cut out to be a business owner, because even paying the utility bill and that being your sole responsibility. Now that's a minor thing, but it's just, I'm sitting here looking at lights in my face all over the place. So it's what came to mind, but the list is long of the responsibilities that you frankly singularly carry as a business owner. And the other thing that I would caution you about is, if you're going into business with somebody, you darn well better know that person well and be sure that you are as comfortable with them as you would be in a marriage type of relationship, because this is till retirement do us part, and that's a long time. And so you've got to know that, I can count on this person when things are tough, because those times are going to come. Scott, you've heard us talk about this, but John and I refer to each other periodically as foxhole buddies, because man, as business owners, we have been through some crap together. And there's been a lot of good times too. I don't want to discourage you from that, but I do want you to know that it's important who you're doing this with. I think that is as important, and sometimes even more important than what you are doing, because if the match is wrong, then undoing that is very difficult, and it's going to scar you.
Yeah. And when it comes to those capital expenditures to get things off the ground, where are you going to get the money to do that? Can you start this without dipping into current retirement savings? That'd be another one I would say too, because you don't want to raid what you have saved for a couple of reasons: taxes, penalties potentially there, and putting yourself behind and getting off track. We have one client I think about who retired from a career and did start a business, but he made a plan first to show him if he took X amount out of what he had saved for retirement, what would that do to his income in the future from his assets, regardless of what happens with the business. So it's always good to work through those points as well and make a plan. And then the last part of Adrian's question was, how can I still be sure I'm making progress with my retirement savings as well? So we talked about not rating it, Janet, but there are some options too as a business owner to continue to put money back.
Yeah, I'll tell you what we have in place at GenWealth currently for our retirement plan is called a simple IRA. And a lot of times the term IRA throws people off because they don't think it's a corporate plan. It sounds like it's for an individual, something you would do outside of work. But it is what we would just loosely refer to as a small business 401k replacement. Most businesses that are below 100 people, they don't have a need to have a 401k. There's a lot of expenses that are involved in that you just simply don't have to have at this point. But doing the simple as opposed to maybe a SEP, it really depends on like how many people are you talking about, how many people are going to be in your business. So I would encourage you, I'm going to actually make this my final thought because it applies really for everybody that we've talked to in this scenario here. I would encourage you to seek wise counsel. And by that, I don't just mean financial advisors, but in this case, we're talking about with Adrian wanting to start a business. I'll tell you, one of the best things that I have ever invested in has been coaching. And my business partner and I have done that for the entire 18 years. In fact, it's even the reason that we started this business. It was a result of coaching that we were getting before we formed the business. And so that we would not be anywhere near where we are today in the absence of personalized coaching. So I would encourage you to seek out somebody who can coach and guide you through the steps that are in front of you. And then also the financial coaching, I think, is just a critical factor for you.